something China has not known for 70 years, right? Mass starvations and people still living in dirt floors, the majority of China, right? That's not a bad deal. So people say, fine, I want to be rich, I want to do. Well, the problem with that is that as the economy has slowed, the government is less able to meet its obligation in that. And that's creating dissent. Mm-hmm. And in the case of China, dissent doesn't mean protesting on the streets normally, because they really don't have the opportunity to. Everything is shut down at the lowest levels because of that pervasive surveillance apparatus. So we get a lot of people fleeing to the U.S. and fleeing elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, that's, kind of where I wanted to go as well. As you highlighted, they went from 300,000 state-owned businesses, right, breaking down to 100,000. And then, I think people over the past couple of years, it's been consistent videos of China's collapsing because, the bank is failing. And, it's a known thing that they're kind of artificially propping up their dollar or the yen or what. There's just a lot of background noise happening there, for lack of a better word. Again, is that China trying to pivot? Like, giving the idea of, hey, look, we're giving you guys more freedom now because we're getting richer, when in reality, the freedom's never there.
They're not giving them that type of freedom. That's the deal. Anyone who says China, and I see this like on YouTube and places like that, China's ready to collapse and stuff, those people don't know what they're talking about. And the reason they don't is because nobody knows. China doesn't know. In the days that I was working, China came to us asking for data on its industrial production. It came to me. I'm like, what? They want data. Why? Because they don't have accurate data inside. Okay, that I get. That's true. Because you know what? Within those state-owned enterprises and such, everybody lies. It's an issue of face, right? So no one wants to turn to their management and saying, I blew this completely. We're off in production. We're not making production. We're doing this. We're doing that. We're failing here. We're failing there. It's a big loss of face, not only for you, but for your boss, in a Confucian-based humanistic system like China. Well, they don't. They all say, oh, it's going great, boss. It's going good. We could use other people to do this and that, but everything's going great. And the result, when you look through the massive bureaucracy like that, whether it's discussions of the military or whether it's discussions of their economic output, so they got no idea. And we, distant across the world, we have no idea. What the real structure is under their economic base. Yeah, you see indicators and stuff, but no one can really give you that accurately, just because the figures that are put out are so untrustworthy. Mm-hmm. So that's one issue. I mean, you have tons of other issues in behavior, things like marriage. I mean, marriage in China is down something like 22% from 2023, but that's it's a 2023 had a COVID bounce, right? So they call it. But it's been down dramatically, and it's something, like 20% since 2012, marriages are down, which means the birth rates are collapsing. Now that's real statistics, right? So the birth rates are collapsing. So you have a country that when we presumed it was going to keep rising until 2050 to 2070, now in 2022 was at its height of population and is going down. And that downward turn is accelerating. So whatever you thought you were going to sell in China, the next generation, you're going to have 20% less people to sell it to. And the one after that, you're going to have less people to sell it to. So there are a lot of stresses in their economy that are coming in. And the U.S., that's why the trade, the trade war is going to hurt them a whole lot more than us. Mm-hmm. I mean, U.S. industries, Japanese industries, Korean industries, are already hundreds of them. Companies have moved out of China and moved to what they call the four tigers, Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam, and Thailand, right? And those economies are building because of the geopolitical threat and, to be frank, the corruption in China and the risk they were taking, the theft of IP, intellectual property. So that has been underway for a few years now. So China's lost that, a foreign influx of money, of knowledge, capital coming in. That's leaving at an increasingly rapid pace. Then Trump gets in and says, you know what? If you bring it all back to America, I'll cut your tax rate in less than half. The play is afoot.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of,
and your stuff's not getting stolen.
Right. And your intellectual property is not getting stolen. So there's a lot of challenges ahead for China, and particularly how it's going to deal with the U.S.
Do you think that's why they've been so keened in on economic espionage then as well?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they've stolen trillions in economic espionage, trillions and trillions. And that, the estimates are, I kind of lowball the estimate, and I'll say less than 400 billion a year. But the U.S. trade rep will say that goes up to 600 billion. So, per year, and it's been happening for years. Mm-hmm. So, and you can see they've dominated in industries because they steal technology or they steal intellectual property. They pump it into their commercial companies or their state-owned enterprises, and the government funds the development of those. So it's solar panels being a prime one. So that they have basically affected the greatest transfer of wealth in history.
So it's probably a good time to break down the difference between economic espionage and military espionage, because I imagine, a lot of listeners or viewers will see, spy, espionage, CIA, MSS, whatever agency, and be like, oh, it's military espionage. It's some guy breaking in, stealing, the newest breakdown or nuclear secrets, whatever. But realistically, as you're just highlighting, a lot of the impact has come from economic espionage.
Sure.
So can you detail the difference between those two?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I highlight, my book centers on this, on slicing out, the different aspects of how much economic espionage are they doing and who's doing it.